We're going to bring in the fifth and final member of our board of advisors, and Graham is going to be joining us as well for a brief conversation. I do want to remind you again, you can buy Tony's book, Something in the Water. If you just actually, there's a link on the domoregood.com website. You can find it there, or you can just do a search for Something in the Water and Tony's name, and you'll find it there. But Tony is one of the most remarkable people that you're ever going to meet. I don't care where I go. It can be anywhere in the world. I go to New York City, wherever I go. If I bring up the name Tony Goins, there's somebody who knows Tony. It's like, oh, you know Tony Goins? His wife, Kimberly, who you'll meet tomorrow, she calls it the Tony Goins experience, because everybody who has an opportunity to interact with Tony walks away deeply affected in some way. So Tony, if you can go and click your camera on and your mic on, it's going to bring you onto the screen and join us. There we go. And Tony, you are in Las Vegas, is that right?
I am. I'm in Vegas at a conference. And listen, Jay, it's not an experience. I just believe when you I've been blessed to live a lot of places and to build great relationships and to meet a lot of great people, and that's just what it is. So maybe I moved around too much, and that's why I know so many people, but I thank God for those opportunities and those experiences.
Well, Tony, it's wonderful to have you here, and excited to be able to share with the audience a little bit about your experience and the work that you've been doing. And Tony is currently in the role of Nebraska Economic Development Director. And so, Tony, as you're thinking about do more good, how do you incorporate that do more good spirit into your role serving as Nebraska's Economic Development Director?
Well, if you think about do more good and you think about kind of the Nebraska headline, the good life, good is a part of all of the conversations that I have. And, Nebraska is, I've always said our story has been undertold and undersold. And so one of the things that I have conversations about when I'm selling the state is the life that we live in Nebraska, but also the real value proposition of doing business and growing in our state. And so do more good is always a part of my conversation. Jay, the tenets that you spoke to are extremely relevant. I'm always having conversations about culture, always having conversations about servant leadership. I do believe that kindness matters, and I'm quick to say kindness is really synonymous with strength, and that kindness is really synonymous with trust. And when you have strength, trust, and kindness, then it kind of closes the gap on the relationships that you have that helps you to do business. And that's a real staple in all of my conversations when I'm going to state, regardless as to what country I'm in. I think when you think about do more good, I mean it's international. I mean it's a philosophy and a way of life and a movement that, regardless as to the language you speak, the country that you're in, your location, it is 100% relevant.
I love that, Tony, and I think that you certainly resonate and embody that impact in everything that you do, from throughout your career, the work that you've done and continuing to do here in Nebraska with the cigar bar, through Cabela's, through all of your past experiences. Clearly, you've led with that notion of kindness and impact first. And so, as being in that role and working with businesses and business leaders and government officials throughout the country and around the world, why is it important to be thinking more intentionally about purpose and impact as it relates to business? Where is this conversation evolving, and how does that resonate with the folks that you're meeting with around the country and around the world?
Because it's 100% relevant to profitability, as Jay said. I mean, at the end of the day, when you think about purpose and you think about profitability, the way you treat your people, the culture that you create, the intentionality of leadership, being a servant as a part of the leadership creates that loyalty. That resonates with the way your teammates actually treat their customers or consumers, which resonates and creates more market share and more share of wallet, which creates more profitability. You know, the inverse of that is you do more bad versus do more good. You have really high turnover. You get a bad reputation in the community, so you can't hire people, you can't bring on talent. And at the end of the day, there's a cost to that. And that cost is more losses and loss of market share. So for me, you know, I'll share this with you. Early in my career at American Express, Amex was not doing so well. And there was a group of consultants that came in and they really started to talk about, Jay and Graham, some of the concepts specific to do more good. And I never forget, they said that, you know, when you start talking about change, they said, if we don't change, and then we mean American Express at the time, if you don't change your leadership and the way you treat people, then you will become a dinosaur. And the question in the room was, when is the last time you've seen a dinosaur? Well, in a museum. Dinosaur failed to change, so they became extinct. And so when you really start to think about, so as Amex started to shift from this really hardcore style of the way they treated employees to do more good, to love and to care. I do believe in that. I do believe you need to love your employees, your teammates, and that is synonymous with care, because when you do that, it creates more loyalty. But you could really follow the American Express stock price, which Warren Buffett has a lot of Amex in his portfolio. You can see the change that American Express made back in the 80s, moving into the era where Ken Chenault actually took over and started to infuse the tenets of do more good, even though it wasn't called that, into the Amex culture. And just look at the stock price. And so for me, you know, I think you have to have a genuine care for people. I think leadership says, to whom much is given, much shall be required. When you touch people, you don't just touch the person that's on your team. You touch their family members. You touch the husband, the wife, the kids, the cat, the dog. You have to think about your real impact on people. But that is really synonymous with profitability.
Yeah. So Tony, this brief session, unfortunately, was intended for our audience to get to know you. You're gonna hear a lot more from Tony, by the way, tomorrow during an extensive panel that we're really excited about. I'm just going to ask you one more question to kind of wrap up. Our audience today got to meet these amazing people that are leading these frameworks: Kate Williams, Rand Stagen, Jay Cohen Gilbert, and then Frida Bonsall. And we got to really understand at a deep level when they knew that they wanted to dedicate, you know, their lives to pursuing this purpose, and specifically purpose in business. And I'm curious if you would mind, you know, do you have a thought on when did you know, like I've heard stories about you wearing suits to high school, you know, all kinds of things. But when did you know that you were in alignment with this whole purpose-driven business thing, and what did that look like in your life?
You know, I can't answer that question. I'll try to give you the short version. But it was when I moved to Cleveland, Ohio, and I had taken a job with a company called Key Bank. And it was my first large-scale job. I had probably about 700 people, and the culture was really bad. So unfortunately, my predecessor had not done a good job around culture. And I started at that moment in time to start to see the pain in people. You know, you can tell people, leave your problems at home. That never works. You know, there's a level of professionalism that they have to have. But I think when I started to see the pain in people, and I started to really think about the impact that I could have on their lives, and that impact was just past work, and incrementally, when I started to implement the tenets of do more good, the culture started changing. People started to come to work more happy. They started to share with me how things were getting better in their personal lives. And all of a sudden, my business results started to turn around. Mm-hmm. And then I got a bonus. Man, that was all it took. I was all in.
That's awesome.
And that was 1997.
1997, just a few years ago. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed.
Well, Tony, thank you. So just Tony and I are going to turn our cameras and mics off, and we're going to disappear. And Graham's going to take us from here. But Tony, thank you so much for taking a moment to chat with us.
It's an honor, Jay and Graham. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And we'll be excited, Tony, to have a conversation with you tomorrow as you are moderating and helping lead up the chamber conversation. So for all the attendees that are logged on today, make sure that you're going to be joining us tomorrow as well and hearing more from Tony.